I spent a half century doing psychotherapy, so my inner caution is to make sure that I do not destroy one option without presenting a more hopeful alternative. Therefore, the 6 lectures that I begin now are on freedom, and freedom from the scare of poisonous ideologies and the need to say, this is it, I am right, I know total truth. I will return to confrontation of the poisonous ideologies in the 3rd set of lectures. But right now I want to begin with some reality factors for those who choose to live in a post-ideology world. First, there are no final theological answers, no final humanistic answers. We're going to have to learn to live without certitude, absolute knowledge that we are absolutely correct. We have to live without all that nonsense of the poisonous ideologies. So my first word is forget about it. That's what they would say in Chicago. The second thing is that we have to accept our own finitude. We're not going to figure out a perfect system. We're not going to live a perfect life. There will be mistakes. And the only certainty there is that each of us will die. So we've got to accept our own finitude. The third thing is that we've got to kiss narcissism goodbye. No one is watching with great awe about what we do. Each of us will live in veritable anonymity where there won't be anybody seeing what we accomplish. All we can do is do our best, and that's the real factor in terms of reality. You are normal. You're not the superb Christ child that the world has been waiting for. So the fourth reality factor is that you have choices. And I think that it is best to experience life while we have it. Because when we're dead, we are dead. That is it. Fini, the end. So that experiencing the world means living out of positive participles, words that end in ing. Laughing, playing, discovering, growing, creating, thinking, appreciating, learning, loving, and living each day, because this is our only chance. There is no eternal life, and when we die, we are dead. So it's best to experience life. So the fifth thing is that everything you accomplish will rot, crumble, and be replaced. I've built several buildings, and I went back to see them after 10 years, and they are crumbling. The people who bought the property are not taking care of it. They're not taking care of the shingles, for one thing, and that means water will invade the house, hit the insulation, and the house will stink. But the fifth reality principle is everything you accomplish will crumble, rot, disappear, rust, and you will be forgotten. Even if you do something absolutely superb and earn a bronze statue, after a while, people will forget who that man on that statue or that woman on that statue was, and they will go by and give it less than 5 seconds thought. John Masefield, the great biographer, said, "When I am buried, all my thoughts and acts will be reduced to little lists of dates and facts. He goes on to try and explain in this poem called Biography by John Masefield that he experienced life, that he loved the seas. He wrote Sea Fever that I quoted one time. But he lived, he loved, he laughed, he played, he sang, he wrote poetry. He experienced the world. So I want to begin, and this will be a short lecture, that there are 5 reality factors. 1, there's no final answers. 2, you are finite and you will die. 3, it's best to experience your journey by living through positive participles. 4, what is it? Everything you accomplish will die. And the 5th factor is something that I've fought against all my life, and that is narcissism, where you think you're either the best or the worst. Anything that's got these superlatives to it, that is pure illusion. You are human, and that's the best you can do. When my son Mark was between age 2 and 3, we happened to be living in Hyde Park near the University of Chicago, which is fairly close to Lake Michigan and also close to the Museum of Science and Industry. And so I used to take his hand and we would go down to the point and see Lake Michigan, or we would go to the Museum of Science and Industry, and I recall that he particularly liked the model train exhibit. But we would go different little exhibits and see things. And it was a wonderful time for me as he would take my hand and we would explore. As he grew, after we had already went to these places, he'd say, "I want to go to my museum." And we would go. Now, or he would say, "I want to go to my lake." And we would go. You know, it's interesting to me that he was trying to teach me something that I did not get at that time. I recall when he was 12 years of age, studying American history, reading about heroes, he said, "Dad, are there any famous people in our family?" And I said, "Well, 2 signers of the Declaration of the Independence were named Morris, and one of them, along with another Morris, signed the Constitution." Now, I was trying to teach him something. Not that the Morris family was great, because I don't even know if we were related to any of those people, other than way back in history. But I was trying to teach him something. He had taught me something at age 2 and 3, and that is when he'd say my lake or my museum. And I was trying to teach him that everyone who contributed to the freedom of humans happens to be family. And I believe that. So I want to go to the word own, O-W-N, and I have a paper with that written on it, but I forgot to bring it. Own can mean you purchase something, your name is on a deed, and it is yours. You own your house, you own your acreage, you own perhaps a summer home, you own a boat, you own a car. So that's the first meaning of the word own. The second meaning of the word own is own that. Take responsibility for what you're doing. You've got to own your life. And then the third meaning that is something in terms of your soul. Like, for instance, I own the Rocky Mountains in Colorado and all the way as they stretch from Canada down through Mexico. I own them. I own the moon, the stars, the sun. I own Lake Michigan. I own the Museum of Science and Industry. I own it because I put those in my soul. They belong to me because I have lived and I have loved them and I have put them inside me. I own them. Now, about 10 to 15 miles from me, east of our home here in Kentucky, there's a man who started a cable channel in Colorado and the Midwest, in the West. He's fabulously wealthy. Now, he has purchased more land than anybody in the history of this country. He owns, the OWN, over 1 million acres. He just bought several 100,000 acres in the state of Maine. So his name is on the deed. They belong to him. He can put a fence around them if he wants to, because they are his. Now, whether or not he takes the second meaning of the word own, where he takes responsibility and makes sure that acreage remains natural and free, I don't know. But I hope that he has appropriated the third meaning of the word own, and that is that he has visited that acreage. He has driven through it. I don't think he could walk through 1 million acres. And that he has put those acres in his soul. That would be experiencing them. That would be loving each little lake in Maine, each little tree, each bush, each bird that flies over or nests on his property. That would be true ownership. And that is a part of freedom. So this lecture is over. I want to say, live free of poisonous ideologies and learn to own